What's up everybody, my name is Cody and you are watching the White River Angler YouTube channel. A few days ago we did a video on what types of bow fishing bows exist and the pros and cons of each and what may be right for you and your budget. Today I wanted to go over some of the different accessories that you can put on your bow. Obviously there are a lot. There's some essential ones and there's a few that are just nice to haves. Today I just wanted to go over those and tell you my experience and what has worked for me, because when you first get into this sport, I think when you first start looking at, okay, what should I use? What reel should I use? What rest should I use? What rest is best? When it comes down to it, a lot of this is just opinion. I just know for me what has worked best, and I know what most people use. So the first thing I wanted to go over is kind of a two-parter, because one kind of plays right into the other as far as what you're going to use or what you might want to use. There's been a lot of videos, one I know done by Dustin Apple. He's a pretty big guy in the bow fishing world, and he does some really good videos, but I didn't totally agree with his take on this. So what I want to go over is reels and safety slides. And so first, let's just quickly run over the two types of reels that's mainly used. There is a third type that's called a drum reel, but it's not really used that much anymore just because it's not as convenient. The first type of reel that you're going to see, and a lot of new bow fishers use this, is going to be the bottle reel. I briefly mentioned this in my types of bows video. But the bottle reel, all your string is held on by this bottle right back here. It is removable for when you need to change the string. One of your most popular brands for that is AMS. I think they were one of the first ones to come out with a bottle reel, or maybe the creator of it. I don't really remember, but I think they maybe even created it. And so they're probably got the best one on the market. I know Cajun makes one. There's several off brands. You can get on Temu and find them. I don't know how good they work. I've never used one. But basically the way a bottle reel works is your line is always free flowing. And that's going to be important for the safety slides later on. You can see I can just pull line out. When it comes time to retrieve the line, there's this lever that you just put your finger on and you just pull that lever. And as you can see right here, it mashes down a roller, and that roller pinches the line and sucks the reel back into the bottle. They're very simple. There's not a lot of moving parts. The only real wear part on this reel is the roller, which can be replaced. They're simple, they're easy, they attach to your bow. It's nice because attached to these is a quiver for a single arrow, so that's super nice. You don't have to worry about having a separate quiver. And that's pretty much it, and they're really lightweight. It's just very uncomplicated. And so a lot of people, when they first get into bow fishing, will use a bottle reel. That's all the pros. Now the cons to this reel, for me, what I have noticed, some people prefer these. I personally don't. For me, the fighting power when you're trying to fight a fish is not nearly as good. When you clamp this leather even full down, a lot of times a fish can still pull straight out of the front. You can see I'm pulling pretty hard on that lever, and I'm still able to pull that pretty easy out of there, even really bearing down on it. So the thing is, the line is thicker, so it does make it easier to hand line a fish. And a lot of people I see use these just watching videos, and I know when I shot one very briefly, a lot of people will shoot the fish and then they'll hand line them in and then just retrieve their string the normal way, like with a normal reel. So the only thing about that is your string gets all down to the bottom of the boat. It gets wrapped around the fish. It gets wrapped around other stuff in the boat. And that's what I personally don't like about it. I personally like to fight a fish just like I'm going to fight them with a rod and reel. And that is where our second type of reel comes in. The second type of reel is a Spincast reel. Just like you would put on a catfish pole or any other fishing pole. This one is a specific one made for bow fishing. There's several different kinds out there. You can pay anywhere from $20 to $400 for one of these reels. I think this one's about $99. It's the one from Muzzy. And then we have another one here. This is on my wife's bow. This is also a Muzzy called the Muzzy Pro. It works the exact same way. The only thing that's different about these, and I'm sure most people will know on a Spincast reel, the way you get the line to release is you push the button. The line comes out. When you turn the handle, there's a click. Now the line doesn't come out. It's nice because you can set drag just like you can on any Spincast reel. So when you're shooting those bigger fish, especially like with my wife's bow, it's a little bit turned down. She doesn't get as good a penetration as I do with my bow, so we can turn her drag down, and it's nice to be able to let the fish run and not just pull the arrow out of the fish. The only thing is about these reels is where we move on and talk about safety slides. So a safety slide, for anyone that doesn't know, is just a little attachment. Let me get an arrow here so I can show you. There's a little attachment. This one's metal. This is the ones I prefer to use. They're called constrictors. I don't remember who makes them. But they slide up and down the arrow, and there's a nice stop right here on the back to stop it from sliding off the arrow. Let me pick up my bow here that has one of these all rigged up. As you can see, there's the string attached to the safety slide. And what makes that really nice is when you go to put this on your string, the string stays out in front of the reel. And that means no tangling up in the reel. It stays nice and compact right there. Other people tie to the back of the arrow, and that's using no safety slide. And the issue with that is when you tie to the back, and I happen to have a bow here. My wife's bow is actually tied to the back right now. I did that specifically for this video. We always shoot safety slides. The issue with this is when you tie to the back of the arrow, when putting the arrow on the string, you can see, even after I tighten up my line, I have all this line coming to the back of the arrow. Well, when I draw this arrow, all of that string, I didn't push my button, that's something else we'll talk about here in just a second. All of this string, all of that line now comes back here with my bow. The problem with that is if I ever do that, I draw and then I forget to reel up my slack, I've got a bunch of slack back here. The other problem is let's just imagine that I'm pulling this arrow back. All of this line comes back here. Let's say I have this much line hanging back here. As this arrow travels forward, when I release the string, as this arrow travels forward, you can see all that slack that's building up back here. And all of this is free to just flop around for just a split second while the arrow clears the bow. Then the bow pulls the string. 99% of the time, 99% of the time, nothing is going to happen. This string is going to pull right out the rest. It's going to go follow the arrow. Nothing bad's going to happen. What can happen, though, is you have this big loop back here. It can get hung around your cable guide rod. It can get hung around your line puller or your quiver. It can get hung around a finger. There's all sorts of things it can get hung on. Now, even when that happens, it's not necessarily detrimental. Nothing bad's necessarily going to happen. A lot of times, if it gets hung around something that's rigid on the bow, it's going to break the string, the arrow's going to break off, and yeah, it sucks. You lost a $15 arrow, $20 arrow, but, you know, such is bow fishing. The problem becomes is if that string ever wraps around your bowstring, if your line ever wraps around your bowstring. The problem with that is obviously a bowstring is not rigid. And in very, very rare cases, I'm talking about 0.0001% of a chance of this happening, but it can happen. It ties a knot around your bowstring. And as your bowstring flies forward, it has some elasticity where the string goes forward, and then when it springs back, it flings the arrow right back at your face. Now, I have personally had one snapback happen. I used to always shoot tied to the back. I hated safety slides, didn't want to deal with them. They can be a little cumbersome at times, or you can break one. But I watched a video by Robert Blackburn that was talking about this. He released one on his own channel, and then I think he did a video on Unguided where this happened to him. And the arrow came back into his face. It punctured his eye. He lost the eye. And it bounced off the back of his eye socket. They said it was millimeters from his brain. So not only did he lose an eye, it could have killed him. He could have died from it. So that's the chance you take tying to the back. Like I said, you can watch other videos. You can watch Dustin Apple's videos. He'll tell you that it's always going to break. He takes the string, he ties it around his bowstring, shoots the bow, it still breaks. That doesn't always happen. It just doesn't. So that is why we shoot safety slides. I do not want to take a chance with my eyeballs. That's all I really want to cover on it. We could go on and on about it because it's a huge debate in the bow fishing community. Another issue you get into is when you tie to the back, and what the biggest argument is for tying to the back. You saw me do it a while ago on accident, is if you forget to push your button. It's the first thing I always tell new bow fishers when they get on my boat, is one of the main rules is don't shoot my boat, don't shoot me, and push your button. Push your button, push your button, push your button. Because every time you push the button and shoot and you get a little line out and you go to reel it back up, now this is at a hard stop. It cannot go anywhere. You have to remember to push your button again. And so eventually, I don't care who you are, eventually you're going to forget to push your button. It's going to happen. It still happens. It happens to people that have been bow fishing for 20 years or 5 minutes, okay? The issue you get into with a lot of these guys, their argument, is the fact that if I forget to push my button and I pull this bowstring, what's going to happen? The arrow comes straight off the string. That's it. A lot of the argument is if I have a safety slide, I'm not going to pick up my other bow right now, but when I have a safety slide, I'm actually able to pull the bow this far before my arrow pops off the string if I forget to push a button. So a lot of people will tell you that safety slides are only designed to be used with a bottle reel that is always free-flowing. It does not have a hard stop. Because they said it can tear up your reel, is usually what happens. If you forget to push your button, you shoot, there's a little pickup pin inside here, it breaks the pickup pin. My thing is, I would rather break a $4 replaceable pickup pin than have to try to replace an eyeball. So that's my main argument behind it is I'm still not going to have any sort of snapback if I forget to push my button while using safety slides. So I would rather risk my equipment and a very cheap piece of equipment than I would risk my body or my wife's body or my kid's body or my friend's body. So that's basically all there is to that. I hope that wasn't too confusing. There's a lot that's involved with that. But basically, always shoot your safety slides. Just put them on the arrow, learn to get used to them. They help not to blow through fish. They don't really affect the arrow in the water. They're just better. They're just better. Personally, we use Spincasts. I'm going to go over one more type of Spincast reel, and that is the type of Spincast reel I use. This is a regular Spincast reel with the push button. That's what my wife likes to use. However, there is something called a Mega Mouth that is a $400 bow fishing reel. It is the creme de la creme, obviously. It's the best bow fishing reel you can buy, according to a lot. However, I have now switched to this style. This is from Boondocks Outdoors. They make the trigger portion that I'm going to show you also for the Muzzy reels. There was actually one on the LBX that I was holding up a while ago. It's called a clicky stick. And what the clicky stick allows is this is now always free flowing. No matter, I can turn the handle all I want to, it's free flowing. And so this reel is always disengaged until I reach my finger up and pull this little trigger. Now the reel will engage as normal. As soon as I let this trigger go, now it's back to free flowing again. To me, this is the best option. This is the best reel you can put on your bow and the most convenient, in my opinion. Because you get the benefits of a bottle reel, but you still get all the benefits of a Spincast as far as being able to fight a fish like you're fighting it with a rod and reel. The next thing I want to go over is the shoot-through rod. Basically, it's nothing but a small fishing pole that sticks off the front of your bow and gives you a little bit of leverage to be able to fight the fish. It also keeps when using a safety slide, it also keeps your line further out in front of your reel, which, like I said, I love this. I love having this nice little L shape. I have almost no line to get tangled around anything. There's a ton of different brands and designs. They even make fiberglass or carbon fiber shoot-through rods that actually look like a fishing pole, different shapes. You can look them up online. I'm going to be honest, they all work the exact same way. I believe this is one from Muzzy. I bought it because it was cheap and they just work. I mean, there's honestly, I don't think much different. Really, there's not any benefit to having a more expensive one. Some of them look fancier. You know, that's about it, as with most things, right? The next thing I want to talk to you about is a reel seat. Now, your reel seat is what holds your reel to your bow. It goes where a stabilizer would normally go on your bow. It goes in the threaded insert right there on the front. It's just for holding your reel and also for holding your shoot-through rod. Some reel seats have an integrated shoot-through rod. This is all one piece. Again, if you can tell, I do like some Muzzy equipment. I am using, I think that's the Muzzy LVR, the Muzzy lever. This one makes it very nice when you're going to change out reels because that just comes down. You can pop a reel off, you can pop a new reel on, you close the lever and it's ready to go. When you're going on long trips or fishing tournaments, it's always nice to have a couple extra reels in the boat, and it makes it very nice just to be able to chuck one reel off, chuck the next reel on. It's a little heavier than most, but honestly, with my bow being so light, I don't really notice it. That's a little bit more premium reel seat. You can see there's other kinds like this. I think I bought this reel seat for $10 or $15 online, like very, very cheap. The shoot-through rod, I think, was another $10. So you can get them much cheaper than what this one costs. Like I said, I just like this one because it's got the lever on it, and it's a quick change. The next thing I want to talk to you about is a rest. And what the rest does is hold your arrow. So this one came stock on this bow, as you can see. It is just a little, like, 1/4, traps the arrow, nothing. There's nothing fancy about it. There's nothing special about it. There is a few different kinds. However, one of my favorite kinds is from a company called Boondocks, the same people who make the clicky stick, actually. And they actually go into the shelf of the bow. They're integrated into the bow. I like these because they're more compact, and also you can get a 360-degree containment where you can move your bow in whichever orientation that you want to, and the arrow's not going to fall off the bow. I personally like these. It's a little slower reloading when you're shooting at a bunch of fish, but to me it's worth it to be able to throw my bow around, put it at any angle I want, and not have to worry about my arrow flopping around, and it all just kind of stays right there in the bow. There is a ton of different other kinds when you get to researching them. Let me grab this bow right here. You can see this is another one from Muzzy. It works more like a regular arrow rest. This is also a 360-degree. And this is just another type of rest. Like I said, get online, look them up. There's 1,001 different options from cheap to very expensive. I think the Boondocks rests are like $28, something like that. The ones from Muzzy are $15 or $20. So there's a lot of cheaper options out there, just depending on what you like. Personally, I like the ones from Boondocks. I like the 360-degree containment. But you can also get those with the integrated style. You can also get those in a 3/4 rest or a short rest. You can get kind of any shape that you want on those. So one accessory that I didn't really mention, but honestly, they all kind of do the same thing. It's, again, just a preference thing, is the finger slicks. Again, AMS makes some. Some people just use surgical tubing, like real thin surgical tubing. I personally don't like the thin surgical tubing. I like my finger slicks to be just a little bit thicker. This is the thicker style I have on here. These are actually from AMS here. It's just a preference thing. You'll just have to use them. They're very cheap. They're $5 or $6 for replacement finger slicks. And you can see what kind you want to use. Well, guys, that basically covers what you have to have on a bow fishing bow. If you're using a Spincast reel like a lot of people do, you have to have a reel seat, you have to have a reel, you have to have finger slicks because it's just going to rip the skin off your fingers after a few shots, and you have to have a rest. That's really all you have to have on a bow. You can set one up very, very cheaply, or you can pay $1,000 for those accessories. It's really up to you. I'm somewhere in between. Really, one of the last accessories that I want to talk about is a line puller. I personally like to have one on my bow. I know a lot of people that don't. But this is the line puller I have right now. It's one from Muzzy. I kind of have an experimental part on there right now. But this is what Muzzy sells. It comes with a Picatinny rail that you can just barely see peeking out the front there. And what the Picatinny rail can do is you can mount a couple different things on it. The main thing that's mounted there is a flashlight, which can be super nice to have a nice little flashlight if you are bank fishing, or if you need to spotlight a fish that's maybe just outside of your lights on the boat. Having a flashlight on your bow can be very beneficial. I don't ever keep one on my bow because I'm usually always fishing over lights in a boat. I never find myself needing one. What I have on there right now is a little experimental part that I just 3D printed. I designed it very quickly, and I always wanted to use these line pullers, but this is also where an arrow rest goes. And I'll show you a regular arrow rest here on this LVX. I kind of got string going everywhere, but that's okay. There's like a regular quiver that you put on a bow fishing bow. Again, there's 20,000 different kinds. There's a Gargod is a really good company. I bought one of these for my wife. That is a line puller and holder combo. This is probably the best thing that you can get, is a line puller and holder combo from Gargod. They make the best one, hands down. I'm just going to tell you, I've used a ton of different ones. This has been the best one. It holds the arrow more firm. It looks super good. It's made out of CNC aluminum. Like, it just looks really good. What that line puller's for, though, is let's say I shoot into a log or into a muddy bottom and I can't get my arrow to come out. I can actually just take my string and give it a few wraps around here, and it gives me something nice to be able to pull against instead of having to use my fingers. Especially with the Spincast reel, we're using very thin line, and it can really cut into your fingers. So it's nice to be able to just have something to wrap just a few times and give it a good pull, and not have to eat your fingers up that way. And you're also not putting all that stress on your reel, so you don't strip out gears and break up pickup pins on your reel. But yeah, like I said, I 3D printed this nice little arrow holder on the side of here. The arrow just snaps into it. There's not really a good option for that besides the one that I 3D printed. That's the reason I had to design it. Otherwise, I would have just ordered one. But yeah, like I said, the one from Gargod's nice, but I think it's like $80. So they're quite expensive. Like I said, I bought that for her as a birthday gift. She wanted one. It was a special thing. I would not normally spend that much on an accessory for a bow, but I will admit the thing is very nice. It holds the arrow very well. I've noticed some of the cheaper ones work fine, but they don't hold the arrows as much. So when you're throwing these things around the truck or they're bouncing around the boat or whatever, a lot of times you can hit the arrow and the arrow can pop out. Mine holds the arrow pretty well, but some of the rubber ones, like the rubber blocks and stuff that I've bought, the cheaper ones, they don't hold the arrow as well. They do their job, but they can come out. Well, guys, I really think that's about it. This video probably stretched a little long because I got into the whole safety slide and Spincast versus bottle reel debate. I didn't really mean to dive into it, but I felt like it needed to be talked about because it is something important to talk about. But either way, I hope you got something from this video. Again, if you have any questions whatsoever, go down in the comments below and ask them. I reply to every comment. Also, if you are looking for a bow fishing bow and you just really don't know what one to get and you don't really have a place to go test one out before you buy, go to my last video. There's a lot of good info in there, and I think it gives you a good head start on what type you might buy. But anyway, guys, that's going to wrap it up. I really appreciate you guys watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe and follow for future content. Thank you, guys. Later.